Three, two, one. Hi, everyone. This is Kiki here, and today I have Frank Cabrera, who works with his wife, Dr. Sandra Piedad Cardona, and they are from Atuvera, and we're going to be discussing how Frank and Sandra went from having an undifferentiated value proposition to creating an 8-word product message with a 60% conversion rate, all in just 4 weeks. But you know what? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So Frank, let's kick it off with this. Could you please introduce yourself and your business?
Okay, very nice to meet you. And also thank you, Kiruka, for having us today. We had a fantastic journey with you. But first, just to let you know, we are entrepreneurs. We are creating a startup with my wife, who is a doctor in medicine. And my background is in software, and like you know, it's a big industry. We are now creating with Sandra a very exciting technology in health tech that basically is revolutionizing the nutrition side of the health market. So that's what we did with you, and we're very pleased with what happened during the process with you. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So can you tell us a bit more? What does your technology do specifically, and who is it for?
Okay, so what we are trying to do is we are trying to facilitate the way people get the nutritional recommendations from their healthcare provider, and trying to minimize the friction that the patients have when they are trying to follow those nutritional recommendations. So our idea is to give them all the options that are in the market to get their proper nutrition organized in a plan that they can follow easily. So we're creating a system where patients can get those nutritional recommendations in a very organized way, and they can follow them very easily, with the idea to reduce the number of people that are sick with chronic diseases that are preventable.
Okay, so what sort of chronic diseases and issues do you help with?
Okay, so there are many chronic diseases, obviously, but the ones that we are focused on are those that are preventable. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about heart stroke. I mean, the cardiac disease, and the brain stroke, and also the diabetes. So those three are probably the main ones, and are the ones that are causing many deaths. So we are focused on those three. Obviously, there are many others, but those are related, for example, with obesity. So that's why we're focused on those three, but obesity will be obviously added to that.
Wow, that's really powerful, because those are really serious issues. Like nutrition is a really serious issue right now.
Yeah.
So with that said, what would you say? It sounds like there's a lot of people in this space. What would you say makes your technology unique?
Okay, so like you said, it's a very crowded market, and we are exposed to thousands of applications, systems, even the food, right? We have a lot of options to now get different type of foods. So what we define is that the market is too crowded and also too noisy, right? So there are many information out there where people can get nutritional information, but since there are too many, it's very difficult for the patients to really focus on solutions that are proper for them. So what we identify is that the personalization of your nutritional intake is a challenge, right? Because when you receive the nutritional recommendation from your health provider, they are not customized. They are not made for you.
Oh, so
So
they have to adapt it themselves, it sounds like.
that's exactly what we are trying to fix. Because let's suppose that you are a diabetic, right? So you know that you have to take care of yourself. You know things that you can do and things that you cannot do, right? But the reality is that when you face your freezer and you see the food that is in your
Right.
home, and
Right.
you, oh my God, I have a lot of these things to do, and I don't have probably the means and the organized information to really make something healthy or something that is recommended with the food that you have in your fridge, right?
Yeah.
Um, by the other side, you always have um, the options outside to get your food, right? So you say,
Yeah.
okay, I can get these meal kits are ready for me, or I have today I have a craving to go to a restaurant, for example, a Mexican restaurant or whatever, but you don't know exactly what to eat in those restaurants.
So at
So
home and when you go out, it's like still figuring out what's safe or recommended.
exactly. So we're building a system where you can have all those options, the ingredients, the obviously the recipes, and also the options like meal kits and restaurants. So all in one place, so you can follow your plan without worrying about what to eat, because the system will tell you what is available for you, customized and personalized just for your nutritional recommendations.
Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I can imagine it would be very difficult, especially if it's a new diagnosis or this person has just learned that they have to eat in a new way.
Yeah,
It probably pretty overwhelming.
a lot, and it's I think that's part of the problem. There are a lot of information, a lot of messages,
mm,
a lot of words, a lot of blogs, videos, influencers, people that are always pushing you in their own direction, right?
mhm,
So that's why I think our main challenge was a there are many things that we can say and that we can communicate,
right.
but we have to organize that,
Mhm,
and we didn't know how to do it.
yeah. Um, yeah, that is a big challenge. So I'm curious, what you mentioned a little bit about your background, but what motivated you to get into this area, you and Dr. Cardona? What made you want to build this platform and really commit to this problem and to solving it?
Okay, so there are, I would say, Sandra is the soul of this company, this
Mhm,
idea, and is this she as a doctor, obviously um, um, she has been getting all these patients with several problems, right? Especially obesity, but also people with inflammatory diseases, with diseases that are really hard to manage by the
mhm,
system. So what really inspired her was her own story, because
mm,
she's this person that has an inflammatory disease that is really in the beginning was really hard to diagnose, and then she never had a nutritional recommendation from the health system. Just imagine that.
mm,
That is um, ironic, because she was
right.
in the system, right? She's a doctor,
Yeah.
and she never received a proper nutritional plan. She always received recommendations of do's and don'ts, right?
Mm,
Uh, but never a plan. So after 15 years of trial and error,
mhm,
she realized, hey, I am doing changes on my intake of food, and those little changes have been amazing for my health in terms of the symptoms, right, that were reduced. So that's why she started to realize, hey, I have to do this in a formal way, you know,
Got it. Yeah.
following a methodology. So that's the whole thing that inspired her on, hey, if I did this to me, I can do that to my patients. So she
Yeah.
started doing that manually
Mm-hmm.
to her patients, you know, recommending proper food plans, recipes. And
Wow.
she
So
always
she solved
had,
it for herself and then started solving it for her patients because she is a doctor. So she was able to,
exactly,
yeah, to
exactly.
share
But
that
the
knowledge.
challenge, the big challenge started when the patients uh, had this feedback of, doctor, but I'm trying to do this, but I cannot do it because I have this family, big family, and I cannot cook these recommendations for the whole family, just for
Mm-hmm.
me, and I have this challenge. Or patients that they don't know how to cook, right?
Mm,
Or they don't have time to cook. So
yeah.
that's why she started to have those challenges in front of her, and then because of COVID, uh, she needed to stop her practice for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because her practice is face to face with patients, right? So she just stopped that, while I was working with my customers in the business side, um, she started to get interested in the way I digitally transform companies.
Mm,
So she said, I want to take a class. I want to take a course, a class again. So she enrolled in a Stanford in a AI for health tech, in
oh,
a
so that
AI
was
for
really the
health
big,
tech
that was
program.
really the beginning of building the platform was
Exactly. So
solving
she
that
started to
problem. And
realize,
yeah.
yeah, she started to realize, hey, I can do this with the help of technology.
Ah,
So, exactly.
awesome.
So
So yeah, that's really cool. So that brings us closer to the present day. So why don't we go back to the beginning? What were you doing just before working with me? Like, what issue were you trying to tackle? What specifically in building this platform? Like, what were you doing just before we started working together?
okay, so we are following a methodology, the lean methodology, to build our system.
Mm-hmm.
So that methodology is a very interesting thing to do. Uh, Basically, what is a process to make an idea reality,
Mm-hmm.
to test your ideas and test your hypothesis. So we did it with a lot of surveys to patients and also to doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So we were now ready to get into validating the solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um, when we contact you, well, because we were validating the solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to have a crafted message to the solution that we want to test, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are now in the MVP building, or the MVP development.
Okay.
So we started with you right before that. So now that we passed through that process with you, uh, that help us not only with the message, also help us with the building of the MVP. So the idea with all this process is not just to have a message, also to test that message to our audience.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, during the process now, we are more sure and we are more aware of our challenge. That's what we did.
Yeah. So right before, and we'll dive in even deeper to what it was like when we were working together. But right before we started working together, what challenge were you faced with? with the platform? You mentioned messaging and wanting to test. So what specifically was going on there? What problem were you trying to solve?
Okay, so when we were doing the competitive analysis,
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of applications for professionals, for example, applications for consumers, applications for chefs, applications for health providers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mix of, uh, of available offerings to
Mm-hmm.
them, right? So we wanted to be focused on, okay, what is the thing that can differentiate us from the rest?
Ah.
Not only from the technology side of the things or the solution,
Mm-hmm.
also from the messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Because what, like I told you before, uh, the uh, the market is too noisy and too crowded.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many technologies that claim to do something or to fix the problem that we are trying to solve. Uh,
Nutrition.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's really hard to convey uh, to something that is really understandable,
Mm-hmm.
something that the people can get immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our main challenge, to have a message that is not. I mean, we were not trying to get a slogan or a tag. In other words, we were not thinking about a marketing agency to craft
Mm-hmm.
our message,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a totally different thing. So while I was reading um, part of the things that you did with other customers, and and you reasoning about the messaging,
Mm-hmm.
I realized this is what I need,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Based on what you were doing with others.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were in a crowded space, and with a lot of different players already in the market, already trying to solve the same problem. And you knew, it sounded like you knew you had value, specific, unique value to provide, but you weren't sure how to communicate that and have it be differentiated. In fact, there wasn't there a fairly large startup that had entered the space right when we started working together, and that had gotten a fairly sizable investment, was a Series A. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, that is important, because while we were trying to develop part of our system, we were pitching our idea to several people in the Silicon Valley. Like, we are living in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
So here, the ecosystem of the startups is there, and it's big.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we were participating in Amazon Web Services meetings, and in other meetings like TechCrunch and others.
Right.
So while we were trying, pitching this idea, we had we had news from I don't remember which PR company, that says that one of our competitors presented this solution, a very similar solution to one of the biggest VCs companies in the Silicon Valley, and they didn't even have a product. They don't have a product. They have obviously all the infrastructure and the offering. Probably they are doing something manually, and they got over, I think, $32 million for their investment, and it's just seed
Wow. Yeah.
investment. So that is great to know, because our idea is now is more validated than ever. Right?
Yes.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
but that helped us a lot because you, during the process, you were also investigating and searching and trying to see deeper into not only the format, the current market, also in this particular competitor, because that is very important for us. You don't need, you don't only see or the process through your process. You also go outside and see, okay, what is going on outside the conversation between you and me, right? So that's very valuable to us because you took the time to really research and see what is going on.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really fascinating space. And so differentiation is key, and making sure that it's more than just messaging, right? It's the core strategy, and then the message captures that, and that's how you transmit it to people. So that is the core challenge that we worked on together. But can you tell us a little bit about that? So before we worked together and you had this challenge of differentiation with the messaging and the strategy, how were you trying to solve it before you and I connected and started working on it together? What had you done to try to solve it on your own?
Okay, so what we tried to do is we were trying to follow the lean methodology, right? So during that process, we have to not only test the idea, to validate the idea, then we have to validate the problem with the customers, right? So we were trying to validate that, but when you are doing that, you have also the challenge of communication, because when you are validating, you are asking questions. And those questions are part of the challenge for you as an entrepreneur, because sometimes you are not delivering the right message. I mean, the right questions, right? On how to say it and how to ask correctly with the idea of being objective and not having an answer that is subjective or is going towards your idea. So trying to avoid bias, basically, right? So that was what we're trying to do, validating the problem. So we were doing just that before we met you.
Yeah. And where did the messaging fit into that? Was it a matter of needing to know how to describe your differentiated product so that you could actually be sure you were accurately testing it? And
or exactly,
was it
because
something else?
I told you, first you validate the idea, then you validate the problem, and then you have to validate the solution.
Right.
Before making an MVP.
Right.
That's the idea of this process, right? So if you want to validate the solution, you have to have a crafted message. So that's why we contact you, because we don't want to communicate a solution that is not properly communicable. In other words, that is not that you cannot explain it correctly, right?
Yeah. So accuracy sounds like that was important.
Very important.
Yeah. What were some of your frustrations with that? With having to navigate that on your own before we connected?
I would say that that the messages are always there. You have now several sources of input to your brain, I would say. So you have social media, you have the regular media, you have your friends, you have your doctors, you have your relatives. Everybody is trying to say something about your nutrition, right? So our main challenge there is that when you have something like this, we want to make sure that people understand very well what we are trying to do. Because just imagine this: there are many factors in what we are trying to make with our solution. So, like I explained before, the providers, the vendors, the health system, your pathologists. I mean, many things there.
Yeah, it's very
and
complex.
We want to integrate everything in one solution. So the challenge is big in terms of how you can communicate that.
Yeah. Were people understanding what you were communicating, or was there a disconnect? What was going on?
Yeah, you got to the point, Kiruta, because that was the problem. That was exactly the problem. We had people that we were pitching, and they got it, but not completely. So you have to explain it deeper and deeper, and sometimes you feel that you are not doing it correctly because they are getting more like a confused, right?
Okay.
So when you were I mean, I was reading your post and the articles you have, and I get that the how to explain something in 5 seconds, how to say it, how to say everything in just one word. I mean, in one phrase, right? Without having to explain the whole thing, So that fascinates me, and I think that is the reason behind our problem, right? We wanted to tell to our users, hey, finally, this is for you, and this is what we think you need.
Yeah. So, and you've mentioned it a little bit, like how we started working together, but just can you share officially, like, how did you first find out about me and come across my work?
Well, we had I mean, I'm not a big fan of social media. I obviously, I mean, you have these things all the time, right? I am trying to avoid distractions, right? So I'm very selective on what I am consuming. So LinkedIn is the my main social media intake, if I can say that.
Right.
So obviously, because of their algorithm, when you are searching for things, the system gives you recommendations and people there. And I saw something there in my feed that from one of my connections, and I saw one of your posts there in LinkedIn, and I just, hey, that's interesting. So I started reading, right? And while I was reading, I go, oh, this is great. This is great. This is great. This is everything that I'm thinking about, And then I entered into your profile, right? And I started to read it. Probably each day I get something from there. And then I asked for your connection. Usually I'm not too, I mean, I make connection in LinkedIn, obviously, but more in the professional side where I am, trying to, or going to trade shows, or if I have a face-to-face conversation or business meeting, I always had my profile as a business card. So my connections are based on that. I don't
professional,
cold call connections, right?
Right.
So I was thinking, oh, I hope she will receive and accept my connection request, and you did it.
Yeah.
So you did it, and we started, having some conversations, but just informal conversations. You never had to, you never touched me in like a silly way,
Right.
I was always, asking questions and reacting to your with a like into your post, and one of those days you just asked me, "What do you do, Frank?" And I told you I'm doing
Mm,
this,
right. I remember
but
that. Yeah.
that time I wasn't developing this with Sandra. I was doing my normal stuff with
Hmm.
business applications. Uh, so the reality is when the day came and we were talking with Sandra about the messaging
Hmm.
and about the how we can communicate the solution, we immediately thought about you. Hey,
Oh, that's
hey, I
awesome.
have someone there in my connections that is doing exactly what we're trying to do.
Awesome.
That's
Perfect.
the moment that we just click there and hey, I want to talk to you.
Yeah. So it sounds like the messaging work and my specific framework for messaging that helps people get sales and conversions and connect with their customers was what, would you say that's what piqued your interest? It sounds like
Yeah,
you've been following it for a while. Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
exactly. And like it's not easy to find content that is compelling and valuable. You know,
Mm,
uh, these days, even LinkedIn is full of things that you don't want to read there, right? You
hmm.
want to have something that is um, related with your business. I mean,
Relevant. Yeah.
I would say that is relevant,
Yeah.
relevant content that you consume because you like it,
Hmm.
and you are doing that, so you
Yeah.
got it.
Well, thank you. And so we've worked together. And what results have you seen from working with me? What specific measurable result have you gotten?
Okay, so part of the process, which was a long process, is not
Hmm.
just, and I it was in the beginning when we started talking with Sandra about this. She just thought, oh, it's gonna be a week, some questions and some interview and some
Yeah.
survey or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you explain, oh, it's 4 weeks of work, right?
Hmm.
We just thought, oh, 4 weeks, what is that?
Hmm.
But no, because it's a process. It's
Yeah.
not just
Tell us about the process. What did we do together? And then what
yeah,
happened?
yeah. So a lot of homework.
Hmm.
It's not the typical homework. What I'm trying to say is that it is a methodology, obviously, and like any other process, there are steps,
Hmm.
and those steps are very important. So you have to follow those steps in order to get a result. So basically,
So what did we
um,
do? What were your steps?
those steps are basically a logic. So a logic that is what I think is like a it's like a math formula, right? So you have
Mm-hmm.
to start with information from the beginning, and then build a formula, but is with factors, right? Every
Hmm.
single factor matters
Hmm.
in the formula, and then you have the result. But the result is the end of the process.
Right.
So we were getting all those questions about what we do, what we have in our solution, what is the minutia on each of the things that we are trying to develop.
Hmm.
So that process, um, in one of those days, we were like, what we need to do in this? What is this, the answer to this? So we were challenged,
Hmm.
and that is the challenge that basically is what you need to resolve in order to tell the reality of your business,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes as an entrepreneurs, we are in love of with our idea, and
Mm.
that's an idea or a solution to a problem that the customers they don't have, right?
Hmm.
So while we are trying to resolve each of those steps, we realize, hey, we have to do this, we have to do that. And now, even after the outcome that we have with your process, we have a list of things to do that are very important to what we are doing now with the building of the MVP. So
yeah, so what was the outcome that you got? What was the result that we ended up getting?
we ended up with a very compelling message to the audience that we are pitching with our solution. So basically, we are pitching our solution to investors, to the developers of our MVP, stakeholders in general terms. So that message is the one that we got, and we feel that is very powerful. As soon as we tested, it's another of the steps that we did it. It was a big challenge because in the beginning we didn't follow the instructions correctly, and then we needed to do it again, and it was great because we did a street test, and we did it with real patients and we're real people, and that helped us a lot because the result is that we have now a message that is tested, and is tested in a way where our users are getting it, and I would say that is
what was the
the
message?
reaction was great. The reaction to the message is great.
Yeah, and what's the message that you landed on?
Okay, so the message is this: is follow a nutritional plan without planning anything.
And what was the reaction? How did you test it?
Okay, so the test is with we did it with real patients, Sandra's patients, and also with people that are out of her practice, right? With people that we know they have they follow a medical recommendation, right? A medical nutritional recommendation, I mean. So we did it in a way of totally surprise them, right? So we were, having chat, a real chat. Hey, I remember that you mentioned something about a nutritional plan that you have, and can you remind me about that? And they talk about, okay, I'm diabetic and I have this and that. And then we, in the same conversation, we threw the new message. And they
how did you do that?
Oh, how you do that? Tell me more. But the one that surprised me really is that, hey, I want to get that. That's the sweetest part, a message that is immediately telling the story, but also motivating people to having to get an action, or a call to action. I want to sign up. I want to do.
So people immediately asked about signing up to the platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think you spoke with 5 people, and how many had that reaction asking to sign up?
How many? I think was 2 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, but others they immediately have how you do that. What is that, right? So that's the what is important for us is that they can get the message correctly. They get it, and they want to know more. Because, like I told you before, we don't want to explain this. We don't want to have a 3 minutes explanation. We wanted to do it like this, and that was. I would say that the result is that they immediately get it in terms of, hey, I want to know more in terms of how you do it.
And so overall, out of the 5 people you spoke with, how many had some kind of positive reaction, whether they asked to sign up or they just said, how does that work? Do you remember what that number was? I know it was a
Yeah,
while ago, but
I think that was over 80%. Mhm.
okay. Cool. That's a pretty strong result. So now that you have this message, and you're still building the platform, you're still kind of building the MVP and doing research for it. What would you say, what areas of your business or of creating the platform have improved since creating this message? And why do you think that they've improved?
Okay, so like I told you before, we are building the minimum viable product,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a very important part of building a system like this,
Mm-hmm.
because you are investing money in in a, in building something with people, and that people, they need to understand completely what you are trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we are building this with a company that they have their own methodology,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the exponential organizations methodology.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make sure that all the steps and all the things that we are trying to deliver to our customers, they understood fully why we are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So in other terms, when you are developing an MVP, you can develop things that people don't need, right?
Yeah.
So if they don't need that,
Yeah.
okay, you are spending your dollars in development, because the developer, they don't ask you, no, you
Got it.
just follow your instructions and that's
Got
it.
it. Yeah.
Right?
So it sounds like clarity
Clarity.
in
That's
the
the word.
strategy of
That's
what
the
you're
word.
building.
That
So
clarity,
from the message.
in the message, that gives them the proper foundation and the proper understanding of the problem. If they understand the problem fully, which is a complex problem, they have the means to build something meaningful.
That's really interesting. I'd never thought of it that way, but yeah, because it sounds like it really is the core of what your product is. It's not just some pretty words that you slap on to sound good, but it's actually like, what is this thing? Why does it exist? Why should it exist when there's so many other options? And being able to crystallize that, so that not only so you can tell people and they instantly get excited, but also for when you're building it and you tell your team and they understand the essence of what they're building. Is that
exactly? And
that's really interesting.
that for our audience that is watching this interview, imagine this: you are a diabetic, and Atuvera is telling you, following your nutritional plan without planning anything. When I explain this to the developer, they immediately think, so I have to develop something where our users, they don't need to think about what to eat, or they don't need to think on
that's really powerful. Yeah.
what to plan. So there is a plan that is ready there. So one of the biggest problems you face when you are developing something is the simplicity. Going to that direction of simplicity means that you have to develop something that is really easy to use. We don't want to develop something that is not easy to use. It's just I mean, it's something that is really hard to do. Simplicity is hard to develop.
Yes.
And that's why your message is powerful, because it's simple. But getting to that is not simple. I mean,
Right,
there is
because
a lot
everything
of,
you have to do on the back end to make it possible to say that to a diabetic or someone with heart disease, that you've done all this work so that they can follow their plan without planning anything,
exactly,
because your platform delivers it,
exactly.
serves it up to them. That's really interesting. And this is an interesting question for you. And I don't know if it applies because of the stage of development you're in, but what would you say was your ROI from the work that we did? If any, if you can apply any kind of concept of ROI.
Uh, well, I think that first of all, we weren't surprised about the outcome in terms of the delivery, because when we read what you had in the posts, right?
Mhm.
We get all that promise, we get it fully.
Mm.
But what is really surprising is that we get more than that, more than you promised. And that more is incredible because not only we have now a powerful message, we now have a methodology also to give that message to our developers, to our
Wow.
investors, to
Mhm.
the people that are surrounding us. So that is very important. You just have not only that, not only the outcome, also a way of thinking on how to build a message, right?
That's awesome. I'm
That
so happy to
that's
hear that.
that is important for us.
Yeah,
Very important.
yeah. So would you recommend that others work with me, other tech founders work with me with that to?
Okay.
Mhm.
So that is um I would say that the biggest challenge you have as a developer or as a technical founder is that you are the master of your craft, right?
Mhm.
You are the master of your knowledge in terms of, okay, I'm a doctor, or I'm a scientist, or I'm a data scientist, or I'm just a system engineer, a coder that is trying to change the world from my point of view, right?
Mhm.
But that's one thing that is obviously one of the main factors of the equation, right?
Mhm.
But then you have to face people. You have
Mhm.
to face the reality that is the solutions are really what our customers need, but also entering their minds with
Mhm.
the right words,
Mhm.
right? Entering in a reasoning that is really powerful, that they can immediately blow their minds. Like, oh, I got this, right?
Right.
So that's very hard to accomplish because, I mean, you are not, I mean, you are a technical founder like us, right? Like Sandra, she's a doctor. She's really good with what she is doing, but it's not, I mean, their area of expertise is not that, right? And
Yeah, you're good at the building and the technical piece of it, it sounds like.
exactly, exactly. And the other part is this, like I told before, um, we have our marketing agency we have another business, and we immediately, I mean, not immediately, but since we were reading your post and your articles, I immediately realized it's not a marketing message that we're trying to develop.
Mm.
A marketing slogan or tag is totally different.
Yeah.
It's totally different, and probably, obviously, we don't need a marketing agency for marketing stuff, right? But this is something that I can recommend to people because uh, it's not a marketing per se message per se, or not. It's a message that you are going to deliver to invite people to your solution, to invite people to participate in your develop in your system, right? I can I don't have words to describe how happy I am after all this. So
Mhm.
in terms of ROI, I think I recover fully my investment in what we did. Obviously, you pay for what you receive what you paid, right? And I wasn't. I mean, I know we needed something like this from a truly professional person like you. So I can fully recommend you. And even let me tell this. Let me tell you this. We're gonna have you again for other processes and other things that we need to do. It's very important because we need people like you in several steps in our business, not just this step. We're gonna need you again for other things that we are trying to where we need to do.
Let's do it
forward. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Frank, who would you say that I'm a good fit for now that we've worked together and you know how I work?
Okay, I think that, like, I talk to you now, I mean, after all this conversation, we don't have our product. I mean, we are building our product. So not only for startups in their building of their system, also to people that they already have the product. So I would say from entrepreneurs that are building their MVPs to people that already have a solution, and even for mature companies that they are delivering their products, but they are struggling communicating the process and communicating the solution to customers. And I would go for further to people that really want to change their products and change what they have, and change not only the message, also to change the solution, right? Because through your process, you realize, hey, we're not delivering what we have or what we are promising, you know? So that push you in that directions too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really clear. And why should someone listening take action right now?
Okay, like we discussed before, we are in these times where you have a lot of noise, right? A lot of pollution in terms of information. So when you have all that noise, you have to deal with that every day. When you are, for example, creating content, when you are creating a piece of information, when you are creating a brochure, when you are having a meeting with a stakeholder or a very important meeting with a customer. If you need to communicate your ideas and your services and what you are selling, you need this immediately. I mean, there is no time to change that, because every time you have, I mean, let me tell you this. I'm receiving now through LinkedIn many requests from people that are selling me a system to get leads, you know, a lead generation system. So I probably had like 3 or 4 per week, right?
Wow.
So a lot of people are doing LinkedIn to, you know, communicate that message to me. Hey, you have to have a lead generation system, right? And then, okay, people got those systems, probably they get leads, and they invest thousands of dollars getting leads. And then you have this funnel where you realize, hey, I'm getting 100 leads. And the process is that you're gonna have 10 out of 100. How is that? How is that you don't have a message that is increasing your conversion? And you realize, hey, no, that's really important. You know, not only having the leads, only delivering them the right message. So I think you have to have this in order to increase your conversion, right? Increase the I mean, the profits at the end of the day. You have to get people in your pipeline. Hey, yeah, you have that with your lead generation system, but now that you have the lead, and you're gonna start doing a conversation, and you don't have a powerful message, and you
Right,
don't
the
have the
ability to
message.
communicate that.
Basically, you are wasting your investment in lead generation.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you know how to find the people and get in front of them, but what do you say to make them say, like you said earlier, I want that, right? That's what we
And the whole
want.
idea is to obviously get out of the crowd, right? So having like a different thing that you never heard before. That's the idea.
Yeah, very cool. And now, what is your number one piece of advice, Frank, for founders with unique technologies?
Okay, so I would say that many of them, they know that timing is important, right? And it is very important. I was reading again one of those business cases about Palm Pilot, the nice technology before the iPhone, right? They have everything to develop the iPhone. They had every single thing in their labs and their product. It was fantastic, right? So they were not in the right time, right? So my advice is always hear your customers, always hear what they need, always focus on their problems and their needs. So a lot of the problems they face is that you are not hearing what they say, that you are not following their needs, and you are not listening to their real struggles. So my piece of advice is that when you have a powerful message, okay, that is great, it's important, we can deliver that. But if you are not having in your product what the customer really needs, or you are not delivering the promise, you are wasting your time. So that's my advice.
Very good. That's very clear advice. And Frank, where can people find out more about you and more about you online and what you're up to and what you're working on?
They can find me in LinkedIn, Frank Cabrera, or they can go to atuvera.co or .com. Atuvera is ATUVERA.com. Atuvera.com.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing this time with me, Frank. It's been great. Great working with you. I absolutely loved it, and also great speaking with you today.
Thank you, Tiruka.
So,
I really appreciate your work, your professionalism, and I learned a lot. Thank you very much again.
Absolutely. All right. Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Bye.